This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. PlayStation just started their August savings sale, and since many of you enjoyed my prior sales recommendation videos, I thought why not do some more, and this was a good excuse to talk about some games I really enjoy, and I think might be worth your time as well. I am going to start off with the Callisto Protocol. This game got slammed and continued to get slammed after its release. Is it the most polished horror title to come out? No. Does it have flaws? Yes. But is it fun and honestly kind of underrated? Most definitely. This is an action horror title made by some of the same talent behind Dead Space. To clarify too, this is not Dead Space, but it is very fun and good in its own way. A large portion of the game is focused on the intense and honestly brutal melee combat. You can really feel each of your hits, and the dodge system is kind of interesting, where you use the stick to essentially flick away from an attack. Guns become more dominant as you keep going, and they are fun to use as well. The game has a really good atmosphere, and I actually really enjoyed most of the story. It is simplistic and minimalist storytelling done well. Jacob is a character that we get attached to and root for. If you have watched any of my prior videos on it, then you know that I take issue with the new DLC ending to the game. Hopefully some of the execution is then corrected in an eventual sequel. But as it stands, it's a solid ride, and way better than many of the big channels would have you to believe. The Order 1886 is one of my favorite PS4 games, and honestly if it received a remaster or patch to unlock the frame rate, it easily would be one of my favorite PS5 games as well. The game came out early on in the PS4's life cycle, and it looks like a title that was released yesterday. This is a 5 to 6 hour story-focused third-person shooter that has some bumps along the way, but delivers a satisfying experience overall. This is a title that I tend to replay at least once a year. Gameplay-wise, most of it is centered on the shooting. The guns feel good to use, and the camera hugs your character, almost like trying to pull off a documentary-style camera effect. This means that you lose some of that situational awareness you would usually find in a third-person shooter, but each of the gunfights feel rather intense. The game can be stop and go when it comes to the gameplay for about the first half of the game. You get a few extended shootouts, but they often end right as they're about to get going. Thankfully, the game hits a nice groove once you get to the bridge part. After this point, there's plenty of extended and fun shooting sequences. The supernatural fights are fun as well, but could have used some more variety. The Order does a great job of getting you into this world and setting everything up. I just wish that we got a proper sequel. It's a great game and a great Sony exclusive. It feels like the indie space is continually pumping out new and awesome boomer shooters for us to enjoy. The AAA space is not interested in making these types of games, and thankfully someone has picked up the mantle. Prodeus is one of those top shelf indie games, with quality gameplay and a lot to enjoy. You have plenty of guns to play around with, along with new ones to unlock as you complete the campaign. Prodeus is delightfully violent, and along with another title that I'm going to talk about today, it's a good example of video game violence done right. On top of the campaign is a level editor, and you can opt to download other people's creations and play them right away, giving you a lot of extra content to enjoy. The game is fun in single player and in online play. The checkpoint system does make the game feel a bit too easy at times, but it excels at the minute-to-minute fun and player empowerment. If Deus Ex Mankind Divided is on sale, I have to mention it. It and its prior game are easily two of the best games I have ever played. You know, I should honestly cover these games with how much I bring them up in these sales recommendation videos. Deus Ex has it all. If you're looking for an enjoyable stealth title, this is it. If you want an in-depth RPG with interesting upgrades and choices for the player to make, along with several ways to complete one area, this is it. Or maybe you just want to gun everybody down, you can do that as well. The story is stellar science fiction too, as it's all focused on a counter-terrorism plot within a cybernetic world. Grid Legends is probably a racing game you completely missed. I even missed it when it first came out, but after playing it, it's a highly underrated and overlooked racer. It felt like EA put this one out without any faith in it, with little to no marketing. This is a shame considering how great it is. You have so many modes to enjoy, along with online co-op options, multiplayer, and a high production campaign that was a big surprise. It uses a lot of live action footage, and has the right amount of camp with a team you are rooting for. If you need a new arcade racer with plenty of content, check it out, plus the soundtrack is awesome too. I love many of the older Star Wars games, especially during the prequel era. I actually like the prequel movies, but even if you don't like them, the games made during that time were really fun, and one of the best was Republic Commando. This first-person shooter combines the action that you would want from a shooter, with the slick squad commands from something like Rainbow Six. Each of the missions are unique with some really fun situations. The first one has you participating in the battle on Geonosis, but in a covert ops kind of way, whereas another one has horror-like vibes, and then you even get to fight with the Wookiees as well. This is a title that definitely deserves a sequel, but sadly never got one. I highly recommend it. Pretty much all of the Dead Island games are currently on sale. You can't really go wrong with any of them. Dead Island 1 has a considerable amount of jank from its presentation and even in some of its execution. And in some situations, the jank even contributes to the entertainment value. The action is intense as most of the combat is centered around the many melee weapons you can use. One thing I really like about this game is that right after the quick tutorial, you can follow the main story, or just explore and see what you find within the first area. The game is pretty lengthy as well, and a title that is still fun to play to this day. Now, I still haven't beaten the sequel yet. I've been playing it pretty much here and there since it released, and the big reason why I haven't beaten it yet is because it's so easy to get distracted in, and just take in many of the fully realized environments, and fighting zombies never gets old. The introduction of the dropkick is great and provides endless comedy, plus the level of violence is impressive and sets a new gold standard for future games to measure up to. Dead Island 2 definitely feels like it was worth the wait, and it's easily one of my top games for this year so far. So if you pick one or both, you're gonna have a good time with either Dead Island. Housemarque is a studio that I always find to make quality arcade experiences. Before they made Returnal, they were responsible and still are at providing some of the best games to play on PlayStation. They easily provided the best PS4 launch title with Resogun. This side-scrolling of sorts shooter is endlessly entertaining with a great soundtrack and gorgeous visuals, something you can pretty much say about most of their games. The game has a bunch of fun additional modes to check out if you get the DLC, and you can play it in online co-op as well. Resogun is the type of game you pick up, and I'll say I'll do one run through the arcade mode and end up playing it for hours. Alienation is also on sale, and this might be their most underrated. It's like if they took the action from Dead Nation and combined it with the loot drops from Diablo. The combination provides one of the PS4's most addictive games. This one doesn't get talked about enough, but if you're looking for a game and see the name Housemarque, you really can't go wrong. Now, something that I like that Sony has started doing is slowly adding and making available many of their older titles, but now they are on modern systems. So now both historical and new players can find games like Syphon Filter, and it would seem that the Syphon Filter trilogy from the PS1 are all on sale. While they look dated, the games still play great, and there are some nice options in these versions that help new players out who are just starting. For example, you can opt to save anywhere and even rewind at any time. Syphon is a third-person action stealth shooter, and it nails that feeling of being a spy through almost every aspect of its design. There's loads of weapons and toys to use. The story is entertaining, I love the From Its Time voice acting, and the soundtrack is one of the best you'll ever hear. Everyone has their favorites when it comes to the PS1 games, but each one of these titles is most definitely worth playing. So that is my list of titles that you should check out. Did any of these catch your eye? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.